Welcome back to the Relationship Mentors podcast, episode number 19. And for today, we're going to do some Q&A. We've got a bunch of questions that we've been sent previously. I was looking through my Instagram feed and we found some questions that we've previously been asked. So we're going to run through them and get our opinions on it. And to start off, we're going to check in with Mia Cherry. What's been the best part of your week?
So the best part of my week, I believe, just yesterday. So today's Sunday, yesterday was Saturday, and I just had the best day. It was like no work. It was just went to the shops with Charlie. We cleaned the whole house. I caught up with my best friend for 3.5 hours. It's like when you haven't seen your best friend in a while, and it's just like 3.5 hours that goes so quickly, and you're just constantly like just talking back and forth. So it's just such a wholesome day, catching up with like friends. And then I came home, chatted with Charlie, and then we went and caught up with other friends as well. So it was just such a wholesome day chatting. Like I was just sitting down chatting all day, which I love.
You just imagine two girl best friends and just like, you got so much to catch up on. As soon as one finishes talking, the other one's like, can't wait to respond.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been for another 5 hours almost, but...
That's wild. That's when you know you're besties with someone.
Yeah, and it was like getting to dress up, go to a cafe, like have a cafe food and just sit there talking at this like super cute cafe. So yeah, my ideal day was literally yesterday of just cafes, girl chats, like no real hard work or physical labor to the body.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, what about you?
Yesterday was really good as well. We caught up with a friend messaged me who's also from the UK, he's from Scotland, and he said, I've just bought football boots and a football, like, come play with me. I was like, all right, Saturday we'll go play. And then like brought our girlfriends, went to play football down at the football pitch, and it was just such an inner child thing. And being down there, the temperature was like brisk. We're on the Gold Coast in Australia, so it's usually a lot warmer, but it was like a perfect temperature, and it reminded me of a summer back in Wales. So I'm from the UK originally, and it just reminded me of a summer's evening playing football down there. Got a girlfriend there, which is super cute. So that was my favorite, I think. Yeah. Just being able to play football, have a laugh, forget the world exists.
Yeah, so I didn't want to like overstep with yours, but it's like, yeah, the girlfriends were just there. We had a picnic blanket, all this like picnic food. So it was like literally I just sat and chatted with girls all day and ate like snacky food. So it was best. And then just watching our boyfriends just like run around shirtless. You're like, yeah, this is a nice day. Nice
Lewis and I were like, what do women think, like watching two guys just kick a football around the exact same way for hours, and they're just so happy? Like, we can do this. Like, men are so easy to entertain. Give us a shovel and somewhere to dig, we'll dig all day. Give us a football and somewhere to run around, we'll be happy all day.
And it's funny because on our end, we were sitting there talking, it was like, you know, that they're just like loving that we like just watching them and like, oh yeah, like, look how cool you're playing, sweetie. And like knowing that we're going to go home and be like, oh, you played so well. I never knew you were so good.
You are so good.
You are so good.
Thank you. Like looking over and seeing your girlfriend watching is like, yeah.
Yeah, the girlfriend that was with me, we looked over and she's like, do you just keep waving at Charlie? Because it's like, it's a big field, so they're like far away. And just like, yeah, we just like randomly just wave at each other so he can like acknowledge the other person, like, yes, sweetie, I'm watching you. Good job.
I'm still here. Yeah. That's like the secure attachment with a child. It's like the child will venture out and still look back to see if mum's paying attention. So it's like an inner child thing like that.
Yeah, and it's just always making sure it's like we were really there just to go watch you guys. And we were talking about maybe the next time we go, we can bring like pom-poms and just cheer you guys on the whole time.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, let's get straight into the first question, which is, what are some ways to show your appreciation for your partner?
I feel like appreciation is such a secret weapon in relationships.
Yeah.
It's so overlooked. Like when you appreciate your partner, when you feel appreciated, your relationship becomes so much easier. Like one partner, say the guy, could go out to work all day and provide for the family, and he's sacrificing in that way. And if he doesn't feel appreciated for that, then he's going to feel resentment because he's not feeling appreciated. And the girl or the woman could stay home with the child, for example, and she's doing 200 different things every single day, and she's got so much emotional stress on. And the guy could be like, but you didn't have to go out to work, so he doesn't appreciate her. So they're not appreciating each other. But it's like, if you can appreciate what your partner does for you and how it helps you live the life you want to live, it makes a relationship so much easier, right?
Yeah, and to answer the question of like how can we show our partner appreciation? I think like that's a great thing to say, like you should appreciate your partner, but how do we actually put that in practical steps on like what does that actually look like for your significant other? And I believe it just comes down to literally the most simple thing of acknowledging what they're doing to the smallest things and saying thank you, like genuinely being thankful and sharing that with your partner. Like, thank you so much for cooking breakfast. It's like, thank you so much for washing up. I really didn't want to do that tonight. And the fact that you did it and I didn't even have to ask, that was so nice of you. Thank you so much. It was just like literally just saying those moments throughout the day is so nice to give and to receive that, because it's just like the little things that we do every single day. It's like making the bed. I believe majority of the time I'm the one that makes the bed the most, but every single day Charlie thanks me for that, and he also makes the bed sometimes. But it's just like little things like that, because it's like it's so easy to take things for granted. And I know it's like no one wants to take things for granted. However, it's like almost automatic. The moment you achieve something or the moment that something's done, you're like, yeah, good. Like if you have a clean house all the time, you're not going to notice, oh yeah, like the house is a mess. I've noticed all the pillows are in the right place, or all our clothes are put away, or the shoes are put away nicely, because it always looks like that. But sometimes you can miss the hidden work that's being done behind doors. Does that make sense? It's like even if you like sweep the ground, because I only vacuum. I don't sweep.
That's a bad job.
I think like on that, I spent my whole I used to be a hairdresser like apprentice, so I swept the ground so much. So now I'm just like I'm done sweeping.
Enough sweeping for my lifetime.
It's like sometimes like you'll sweep the ground, and sometimes if you don't tell me, I don't notice, because it's not like our floors are disgusting, but you just like maintain it. So it's like you just letting me know. I was like, oh yeah, I sweep the ground, I did this. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like now that you've said it, I've noticed it. But if it was not in my awareness.
Yeah, it's so easy to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
Like our relationship's 99% so great. And then we can focus on the 1% and be like completely oblivious to everything that's going great in our life. And same with things in your life. If you've got one area of your life that you're struggling in, it's so easy to hyper focus on that area and miss everything that's going well in your life. So translate that into your relationship. Actually pay attention to what your partner does well. Show appreciation. Become better with words of affirmation. That's a really big tip. So many couples just say, I love you, I love you, I love you so much that they become desensitized. So can you get better with your words of affirmation? Can you say, thank you for being a great mum. Thank you for washing up. Thank you for looking after me when I'm tired. Thank you for taking the kids to school. Like, I love the way you do this. I love the way you do that. Can you become more accurate with your words of affirmation so they actually feel appreciated, rather than just saying, I love you, because that can get so lazy.
Yeah, and just as another example as well, thinking of appreciation that you have for yourself, because there's things that you're doing for yourself that you're taking for granted. And a really big thing that comes to my mind straight away is health. Since it's coming into winter, I can feel my throat getting a little bit tingly. Just your overall health. You don't always appreciate your health until you are sick, or that you've like hurt your ankle or your arm or your shoulder, things like that. It's like you don't fully appreciate having a healthy body until you don't have a healthy body in that moment. So it's like, where are you not appreciating yourself? And then remind yourself how amazing that is when you do get to look after your body and how healthy you are and all the things that you do for yourself. And then recognize what you're doing for your partner and recognize what your partner's doing for you.
Absolutely. It's like a human condition to become blind to everything you've got in your life. Like, remember the submarine with the Titanic thing? Remember those people got stuck at the bottom of the ocean trying to look for the Titanic, and they were stuck down there. It's like, in that moment, imagine how bad they would want to see their family one last time or be safe. And then we're up here on dry land, and sometimes with our family, and we take it for granted, or even, we have to go see our family today.
Yeah.
It's like, how crazy is it how unappreciated the human mind can be when we don't focus on it. So in your relationship, how can you focus more on appreciating your partner? And it literally comes down to what Mia said, of every single day practicing noticing the good instead of noticing the bad.
Yeah. And I don't want to spend too much time on one question, but also on top of that, I remember in high school, for example, I saw this quote and I wrote it in my notes, and I'm like, this is something that I is a goal for me to start achieving. And the quote was, give your mum a compliment a day, because it's like your mum does so much for you when you're growing up, and even after you're like not living there, your mum does so much for you, and so much of it goes unnoticed. And when I just read that quote, I'm like, that's actually so true. Like, give a compliment a day to your mum. And then it's like, I feel like we should also put that into our relationship. Give a compliment to your partner, give your partner a sense of like appreciation, or a comment of appreciation every single day. Because I feel like we give out each other compliments or like appreciation.
We're washing each other every day with it.
Like at least like 3 times, if not more, without like intentionally doing it, just because it's such
It becomes a habit now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think appreciation is a podcast episode on its own. So that's a big question.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, so the next question. Is it okay for my partner to have close friends of the opposite sex?
I'd love to hear you answer first.
I think yes. It's like to have someone that... Oh, I thought you shook your head. I'm like,
What?
no. I genuinely think it is okay, just because there's definitely avenues where there's a whole thing of like, you know, like why do you have a girl best friend? Like that's so... I should be your girl best friend. Like there's a lot of like toxic side on social media that I see a lot of posts like that. However, sorry, I need to sneeze. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit sick today. However,
Bogey all over the microphone.
Yuckies. So however, it's like when I look at Charlie, right, you have a lot of girl close friends. However, in those moments, like anytime you catch up with them, I'm always there. Like you've always, right from the beginning of our relationship, you've introduced me to them. And now I have a close friendship with them as well.
Yeah.
So I really think it is okay for you to have close friends that are of the opposite sex. However, it should never be like private. You should never be keeping something from your partner about that other person. Does that make sense?
That's such a good point. I was like, oh, there is a bit of ick to it. But the way I go about it is I have a lot of... Bless you.
Thank you.
I have a lot of close girl friends. Oh, she's at it again. Do you have 8 sneezes in a row? It feels like an orgasm.
Yeah, but I've sneezed 8 times in a row.
What were we talking about? I've got a lot of close girl friends, but I wouldn't go and meet up with a girlfriend on my own. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't go and meet up in a cafe or go for a walk with a girlfriend on my own. It's always like a friend group together. Like we'd all meet up together and go hang out.
But then even in saying that, it's like I think in our relationship, I've only ever caught up with one guy friend, and with you not there, and it was like a catch up / work thing. However, I also feel like since you're also really close with them, and even if you went and caught up with one of the other girls, like normally there's like not really a reason to, but if there ever was, I just feel like there's so much trust built into the relationship, and I have my own personal connection with each and every one of your
that's the thing,
girlfriends.
isn't it?
But the thing is, like, you initiated that right at the beginning. Like the moment we started dating, you had already formed all these really close friendships with girls and guys. However, it's like at the beginning of the relationship, you introduced me to them, and then since you're such a social person, we were constantly catching up with all these different people, and they obviously respect us. I respect them so much. They respect me. And it would just never, like I've never thought of that way towards them, just because, it's also forming a friendship with them as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So can you have friends of the opposite sex? I believe yes. And at the same time being really respectful. And if like insecurities or worries come up for your partner in that, don't call them crazy. Don't think they're an insecure, anxious person who needs to get over themselves. It's like, no, reassure them, work it out together, and then work towards the setup that you want. And sometimes you are crossing the line. Like something that can be so okay for you might be totally not okay for your partner. So it's just finding that out.
Exactly. And I'm like, there is definitely a line like what you just said. Like, where is the boundary as well? It's like if you have a really close friend and you're like, flirting back and forth, and like that's not respectful, and that's like not what you should be that shouldn't be the interaction within the relationship. And it's like if one person has shown interest in the other person or like has come onto the other person while they're in a relationship with, like if you we're in a relationship now and someone came on to you out of your close friends, then it would be up to you to
shut that down.
Yeah, shut that down straight away. Even share that information with your partner. But like that's never happened just because it's like the other people respect us so much. They respect me so much like that just wouldn't happen.
We wouldn't have those people in our friend group.
I know, but yeah, exactly. But I could just imagine other, like you guys listening to this, it's like if that is actually coming up, like if you've just started dating a guy or he had these friends, like best friends before you guys started dating, but then now it's like a little bit too flirty or it's like a little bit like crossing the line a little bit. Like it is okay for you to step up and be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this and this. I don't believe that it's respectful when this exactly happens and that you engage back with it.
But do not say it in a critical or attacking way.
Yeah. And just knowing, like, obviously saying it in a very calm manner and just a respectful tone.
Yeah.
And I do believe then it's up to the partner to address it directly to the person that is crossing the line, being like, hey, I feel like we've been crossing the line and I don't believe it's as respectful that now that I'm in a relationship. And it's like, I've seen that I've been flirting back a little bit, just like I know that it doesn't mean anything, but now I've come to the realization that it has been actually a little bit disrespectful and I want to make it more platonic or something like that.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I do think it's their responsibility to call it out exactly as it is, rather than being like, oh, like we shouldn't see each other as much, because that's not what I said.
Amazing.
Excellent. So the next question is, how can I support my partner through a difficult time without feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, it's not your responsibility to be your partner's therapist or the counselor, but you also want to support your partner. And sometimes it can become too much where they're venting to you every day and they're emotionally dumping on you every single day, where it's like you got to hold your own boundary. Like your main responsibility is you before your partner. It's more important to make yourself happy than your partner happy. So don't be an overgiver. Don't be a people pleaser. Don't let yourself get walked over and trampled on by your partner's emotions and worries. That you need to hold strong for yourself. Make sure you're happy on your own and check in with yourself. Like, I really want to support my partner, but is this becoming too much for me right now? And if it is, can you help them like redirect to professional help maybe, or someone who actually is an expert in this field? So I think supporting your partner is so great, but also checking in with yourself. It's like, am I overgiving at the moment?
Yeah, and it's something that I really like as well of what you said is it's like making sure that you're okay first as well. And then it's always just you asking your partner, because obviously you love your partner so much, you want them to be okay and you want them to be happy. It's generally just asking them like, hey, are you okay? Did you want to talk about it? Because I definitely know in the past, if I see a friend or someone in my social surroundings that seems upset, I used to be so persistent of like, no, talk to me, like I will help you fix your problem. And I used to be so like persistent. And I used to do it out of like the goodness of my heart. And I thought I was doing the best thing for them, because like, I know I can make you feel better and feel so like happy and like solve this problem. Like you're not in this alone. And I really thought I was doing obviously the right thing. I thought it was the right thing to do. However, now when I look at it, it's actually asking them like, hey, are you okay? Know that I'm here for you. Is this something that you want to talk about? Then let it be up to them to share that information with you or not with you, because sometimes people just need to process it for themselves. And also within saying that, if they are wanting to talk about it, ask yourself, do I have space to help? Like, do I have space to hear this right now? And sometimes the answer is no, and that's okay. But it's just like, okay, like what's happening? And then you can refer them onto someone else.
Yeah. The best question to ask is this something you want help with? How can I support you with this? Like asking your partner that, if they come to you, don't be like, fix. Be like, how can I support you? Is this something you wanting help with? Sometimes they just want you to sit there and listen. Sometimes they just want to hang out. Sometimes they don't even want to talk about it. Sometimes they just want to go for a walk. Sometimes they just want you to make food. It's like, don't assume how to help someone. Actually ask, how can I support you? What's something I can do to make this a little easier for you?
Yeah. And it's like, not only now when I reflect back on all the past moments, because I really see in friendships, I did that a lot, and different like co-workers and things like that in past relationships, or even in this relationship. If someone felt sad, I felt uncomfortable because I'm like, oh, like we should always be like happy. And like, if you're like not like happy and joyful, it's like, let me fix this with you. Let me fix this with you, rather than allowing them to fix it on their own. Because that's the greatest lesson in life, is learning how to overcome your own challenges. But what now, when I look back, I was just so persistent that I was fixing their problems for them, where they weren't learning what they were needing to learn from life in those moments. And so it's really doing a dishonor to that person if they haven't asked you for that help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a spectrum where you got to find the balance. Some people never ask for help. They're so stoic on their own. They will not be vulnerable. They will not ask anyone for help because it's weak. So they keep everything inside, and that's so damaging for you. Then you have the other side of the spectrum where you can't work through anything on your own. You're so fragile. Anything that happens to you, you just need like to talk to 20 friends and complain about it all the time. So that's the other side of the spectrum. So can you be in the middle where building strength for yourself to work through things, you become anti-fragile, so any challenges make you stronger on the other side of it. And at the same time, if you feel like you want to talk about it, talk about it. Like, don't be scared to be vulnerable, but also aim to be strong on yourself. So it's like finding that middle ground.
Yeah, I really love that.
Amazing.
Okay, the fourth question is, how do you deal with a defensive partner?
This is huge, yeah.
This is a great one for you because you have a lot of clients come to you and ask this one.
Defensiveness is such a prevalent thing within relationships. So many women deal with a defensive man and so many men deal with a defensive woman. Defensiveness is really when you feel under attack and you feel like your partner is the enemy that you need to defend yourself from. So any critical tone from your partner, it could feel like an attack. It could feel like criticism. It could feel like questioning or control or suffocating. And you want to defend yourself from that, especially for guys. I feel like guys are more defensive than women. That's a super general thing. It can differ each relationship. But a man's desire is to feel capable within his relationship. But if he's not feeling capable within his relationship and his woman brings something up that also suggests that he's not capable, then that guy's going to be defensive because he doesn't want to hear it. He's already telling himself in his head that I'm not doing a good job. I'm not this. I'm not good enough. I'm not capable. And then if you suggest something, like if you ask him something like, hey, why did you do this? Why did you do that? Then he's going to get defensive because he doesn't want to take on that blame, right? So he's like, nope, I'm not having that.
There's a thing that I've read many years ago now that they say, when you're asking a question, never say the word why. Like, I can't remember what you swap it to, but it's like, it's saying the sentence without the why, because the moment you say why, the other person straight away gets defensive because they feel like they're being accused of something, even if it's like, oh, why don't we, I can't think of an example, but whatever it is, it's like, you can really see, it's like if someone came to you and said, why XYZ, a shield almost goes up to protect yourself and defend yourself. So if you can really use the words around that.
Yeah, perfect. And why really is like as soon as someone asks you why, it really singles in on you. It puts you under pressure. It's like they're asking something about me and I need to say the right thing. I need to defend myself in a lot of cases. And the main thing within a relationship, like through these questions, the first one was appreciation. Second one was respect. And then we're just going through it. And this one really, with the defensiveness, is being a team dynamic. It's like being on the same team as your partner, working together to solve things. It's not you versus your partner. It's you and your partner versus the problem. So it's being that team rather than feeling like you need to protect yourself or get one over on your partner. And if you're the one criticizing in your relationship, like that's such a toxic trait. So try and work through that and change the way you ask for things.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that.
Amazing.
Okay, the next one is, what should I do if I suspect my partner is cheating?
What do you reckon?
I'll let you answer first so I can like grasp my thoughts.
What should I do if I suspect my partner is cheating? So I'd really check in with myself. I'd really regulate myself. The first thing to always do is regulate yourself. Never react to something. Always check in with yourself, calm yourself down, and look at what is the reality here. because a delusion can come across your face out of fear, out of this monkey mind, out of insecurities, out of these triggers from the past. But when you can regulate yourself and demist the situation and see what is reality. Okay, reality is, I've seen messages on my partner's phone from this girl. Okay, that brings up a bit of insecurity for me. Okay, I need reassurance. Cool. Is it safe to talk to my partner? Yes, it is. All right. I want to approach my partner. Hey, I'm feeling a bit unsure. I'm feeling a bit insecure from this. I just want some reassurance around, like, I saw this message from this girl. I would love to hear, like, what's going on there. It's like, cool. That's one option. Another option is it's not safe to confront my partner straight away. Cool. Let me check in with a friend that I can trust that knows both of us. It's like, hey, this situation's happened and I'm not sure how to feel about it. What's the best way to go about it? And that person knows both of you and they will know how to confront the situation, right? So I'd say that's the thing, like, regulate yourself, check what is the reality. If it's safe to confront your partner, do it in a way where I feel like this rather than being critical. And if not, go and check in with a friend who knows both of you and see what's the best way to go about that situation.
Okay, I have a question on that because I think that was really great advice. There is another level to it as well, though, that humans are very intuitive as well. So it's like, just because there is an importance to differentiate what is your intuition and what is an insecurity speaking that you've had, like past relationships where they've cheated, or a lot of people in your friend group have been cheated on. So now you have that insecurity. So it's really important that you separate intuition to your own insecurity. However, there is still a level of there's an intuition feeling that things aren't okay or something's happening. But then when you say monkey brain, like, I don't want people to think that their intuition is just their monkey brain, because that's incorrect.
Yeah.
And when you look at reality is like, he's always nice to me. He's never done anything for me to suspect anything, yet my intuition is really telling me that something's not okay.
And it's that skill to listen to yourself, really check in with yourself. Like, your gut tells you something. Your gut is your second brain. So can you check in with yourself? Be like, oh, like, he seems nice, but something is off here. Something is telling me X, Y, Z. And then you can deepen the conversations. You can follow that golden thread and be like, oh, I'm feeling this way. Let me dig a bit deeper to find this insecurity. Let me find this golden thread, like this ick I feel in my gut, in my intuition. Like, you felt it in past relationships, haven't you, where something is off, and then you confront it and you find out, yes, something was off. But in reality, I didn't see that. Yeah.
So that's the reason why I said it to begin with. However, like, what would you think the action step would be? Like, specific, like, because when I really talk about, like, my past experience in the relationship, like, when I look back now, in hindsight, outside of the relationship, there were all these signs, like, this was off. However, within the relationship, when you're, like, in the moment, when you're in, like, the grid of it, it's like everything's perfect. Everything's like, like, you just have your blinders on. You just aren't seeing any of the red flags, but you're just like, oh, like, everything's perfect. He treats me so nicely. Like, we have open communication. Comparing it to the relationship now and how much growth I've had, I would not believe any of this. But in the moment, I remember feeling that we had such a great relationship. He was so nice to me. He said the nicest things. I felt like if I had any of those insecurities, I could speak to him about it and he would reassure me that nothing was happening. But yet then cut to 2 years later, all of it was happening and my intuition was right. However, he thought it wasn't. Like, I thought I was just being insecure. And because the facts was, he treated me so nicely. He was showing up. He was saying all the right things. And he had never physically done anything that I had seen for him to have broken my trust.
And sometimes you do not know.
Yeah, and it's like, in those moments, I think it's so important to listen to your intuition. But then what would you believe is the right thing to do in that situation? Because my intuition would say this. I would have that open conversation. He's like, no, and then send me this, like, long message of how much he loves me and he would never do that and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, like, obviously, like, he's never done anything from what I had seen for me to actually think that way.
Yes, that practice of what is insecurity and what is intuition. If it keeps coming up, this intuition, like, oh, my gut is telling me something's off. Like, I feel secure in myself, but something's off. If that keeps coming up, if that voice keeps coming into your head and it's not insecurity, it's like intuition, something's off. And then keep following that golden thread. It's like, nah, something's off. And you get to keep following that rather than you just listening to whatever he says or she says, because they can put the prettiest face on, right? They can tell you whatever they want. They can talk themselves out of anything. But if it keeps coming up for you, there's a reason it keeps coming up for you. So in terms of actionable steps, is like, if you feel something, regulate yourself, look at what is reality, what is my gut saying, and then how can I reassure myself? What action steps do I need to take to reassure myself? Does that make sense?
Sure, but it seems super high chunk, and I think it's like not a very deliverable of like
it's just different in every situation. Hey?
For listeners like listening that genuinely feels this within the relationship, if I heard that information, it would just make me feel like, yeah, I can just reassure myself that everything's fine. But now when I look back, if I was just going to reassure myself that everything was fine, I was just feeding into my own delusion that everything was fine. So I genuinely believe if you do suspect your partner's cheating and you've done all the stuff that Charlie has said, but on a 3D level, everything's fine, but your intuition within itself, and you can differentiate your own insecurity to your intuition, I would say act upon that and talk to his friends. And like, I remember the day that I really suspected something, that it was just to the extent that I couldn't not listen to it anymore. I remember going to his best friend and sharing this information of like how I felt, and then his advice was like, he apparently had no idea or no information on that. And I still believe that to this day, but it was like only until I went to my partner at the time and actually asked to go through his phone, and then was able to see everything. But then in these days, people are able to delete things or not have receipts or things like that. So I think it's really a decision within your relationship if you choose to trust your partner or not.
That's the biggest thing. It's a decision. Yeah. And if it comes up, if you ask to go through your partner's phone and they do not let you on their phone, that is a big warning sign.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is, it's like, at the end of the day, you'll never know. You can't always know for sure if your partner's cheating on you or not cheating on you. It really just does come down to a level of, do you respect your partner, and do you trust your partner enough? And even if in the scenario that everything's fine on a 3D level, but your intuition's just telling you that something's not okay, and you don't believe that you can trust your partner, even if on all the 3D level that things are okay, then it sounds like a decision that you just need to leave that relationship, because it's just not healthy for you emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah,
that's
amazing.
My opinion. So the sixth question is, how do I know if my relationship is toxic?
Ooh, have you been in a toxic relationship before?
Looking back, I definitely don't think I've been in any like toxic relationships. And within the relationship, I never felt like it was a toxic relationship. And even the couples that we coach now, or the clients that we coach now, we can see on the outside how much of a toxic relationship it is, yet the people within the relationship aren't seeing how toxic or sometimes abusive the relationship actually is.
It's so hard to see sometimes when you're so involved in something. Like, the fish doesn't notice the water it swims in because it's everywhere. It's around them. It's their environment. So their environment becomes invisible. They become blind to it. And so many people are in toxic relationships without even knowing it. So this is an important question. How do I know if my relationship is toxic? If you feel like shit in that relationship, that is a very good sign. If your partner butts you down, if they disrespect you over and over again, if they don't change their behavior, if they cross your boundaries all the time and you keep putting up with it, eventually it's going to become worse and worse and worse. So if you constantly feel like shit in your relationship, that is a very good sign that it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah, it's also so important when you're in a relationship to have a sense of independence and a sense of self, of who you are, who you stand for, what your values are, and what your boundaries are. And all of those things are specific to you. Your partner in the relationship doesn't have to have the exact same boundaries and sense of self and sense of values as you do. So that's super important. Of like, if it's molded so much together that you believe that you've changed so much within your relationship that you're actually feeling worse about yourself within the relationship, that's a massive sign when you used to love yourself or appreciate yourself more before you actually met this person and before you got into this relationship. Because when you are in a relationship, like, you do so much personal growth because your partner reflects
all the
triggers, all the things. However, I can see, like, I am a different person in my relationship with Charlie because I can see how much I've grown and I've loved myself more and I've stepped more into who I am, and got rid of all the things that was like holding me back, because now I'm in a safe relationship. It allows me to go and achieve different goals in other areas of life. So I have changed within this relationship, but I've evolved to who I am and more to myself. So I think that's a really massive sign to see if you're in a toxic relationship or not.
Yeah, it's really checking in with yourself, being an independent person, saying, am I happy? What is okay now? Am I feeling good in this relationship? Is this relationship good for me? 'Cause so many people stay in a relationship far too long because it's safe, because it's familiar.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you feel like shit in that relationship, it's up to you to respect yourself and actually leave.
Yeah, love it.
Amazing.
Would you like to choose the last question?
Last question. How do we keep the spark alive in our long-term relationship? It's so easy for a relationship to get stale and get the same and do the same old things over and over again and not feel very new. And sometimes we can go a week and we've done the same thing every single day, and all the memories get shutting into one in your brain. So it's like, I can't even remember the last week. That's because you did the same thing every day, and all the memories fold into one, and it doesn't feel like 7 days, it feels like one day. So it's so important to add new things into a relationship. I feel like that's one point.
Yeah, and it's something that we do in our relationship is like, what's one thing that we can do differently today? It's like, we don't do that every day. I think it would be great if we did it every day. However, since we are both people who are very much in the routine and we really stick to our routine every day, like at least once a week, I feel like we just do something, like actively choose to do something slightly different, whether that be going for our afternoon walk together, but we go in a completely different way, a completely different street than we normally would. And we have a conversation about some super random thing that neither of us could be interested in, but we've never spoken about it before, or things like that.
Yeah, find new things. Whenever you hear something in your day-to-day life, be like, oh, I can't wait to tell my partner about that. So hold that, tell your partner. Whenever you find something funny, tell your partner about it. Whenever you hear of something good, like a friend came up to you like, hey, we did this on the weekend, it was really cool. Awesome. Take a note of that, write it down, go do it with your partner. It's like, your relationship won't get better by accident. It only gets better with intention. So you intentionally putting things in your relationship where you go out and you do different things, that's how you improve your relationship. So be intentional, be aware of some things that you want to try with your partner. Like if it's sexual things, if it's date nights, if it's conversations, like go out and do those things. If you want to go socialize with your partner, go out and do those things. So your life doesn't get better by accident. Like you must intentionally improve your relationship.
Exactly. And it's like you talk about this so much, and it's so great, of just making sure that it's like, no matter what moment you're in within your relationship, treating your partner as if you are still in the honeymoon phase right at the beginning of the first month of knowing each other, of just like showing that appreciation, showing the love that you have for them, and expressing it in a different way can make all the difference, especially when you've been in a long-term relationship. Like you said right at the beginning, it's like sometimes you can say the same things every day of like, I love you, have a great day, love you. Like, and it's just so can become desensitized to it. Or even like something that you say to me all the time, which is really nice, is like, you're so beautiful. And like sometimes if you say that so much in the same way, I can just become desensitized to it. And it's just such a lovely thing for your partner just to appreciate that as well.
And flirting.
Yes.
That's very important. Every single day, ask, how can I make my partner laugh today? And what can I do to flirt with my partner? So every single moment you get an opportunity to lighten up the load, because life can feel so serious as an adult. If you're listening to this, chances are your relationship doesn't feel the same as it used to if you're in a long-term relationship. So things get serious, work takes over, life takes over. You got to pay rent now. You got to have finances. You got to sort your tax out. You got to go to work. You got to look after yourself. You got to make sure you're socializing. Like adult life can pile onto the relationship until it becomes so serious and stale. So like anytime you have to lighten the mood, any opportunity to be playful, take that opportunity.
Yeah, I love that actually, because I actually genuinely think that's the best part of Charlie's and my relationship. And I say this every time we have a disagreement or it's just been like a slum of life or like a moment of just working too much. And I always say to Charlie, it's like, for me, I feel like he brings in so much like joy and happy, like just silliness. I feel like we both bounce off each other. We're just super silly and like playful, and at moments just not taking life so seriously. And like you say, we do flirt with each other, but in such like a silly way throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like we over dramatize certain things of like in a happy way just to be silly and just to make the other person laugh.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that just like makes
It
the
lightens
relationship.
everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. Especially
like
when
whenever there's a weight of life and you laugh about things, it just
Yeah.
swipes it away.
And it's like that's my favorite thing, because Charlie's always intentionally doing it. And then I think since he's intentionally doing it, I just naturally do it back to him. So I don't think about it. It's just an automatic thing when you intentionally do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's like one of our best things, especially if I get annoyed about something, Charlie will, like, he does it in a well way that it doesn't make me more angry, but it's like makes a silly joke about it. And then it makes me realize just how silly I can get like how serious I can think life gets sometimes, and vice versa.
It just snaps you out of it, hey?
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. I love that light little note to end it on.
Yeah.
Add playfulness in your relationship.
I love that. Like, I love these episodes where we just get to go like, I was going to say fire around about questions. However, I feel like we really spent a lot of time on these questions today. And you guys have done really well to listen through. I am feeling like I'm getting more and more sick as the moments go on. However, I do love these questions. So please do send through any questions that you do have, because we do these episodes once a month.
We try.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll do it every 4 episodes, so once a month. And then we're like, oh shit, it's been like 7 episodes.
Yeah, so yeah, we're going to aim to do it at least once a month of just a Q&A, answering all these questions.
Yeah, and each question could have been an episode on itself. So congrats for listening through this. Thank you so much. Make sure you send this video to your partner if you've got one, and come together to discuss it. That really helps with intellectual intimacy. So thank you so much. Make sure you send through your questions and join us as we release an episode every single Monday.
Bye, guys.